Hello everyone and welcome to another English with Joseph. And first of all I should say Happy Halloween to you. Happy Halloween. Now as some of you already know, Halloween is a festival which is celebrated all over the world. In Mexico they have the Day of the Dead. Well, we don't quite have that here, but we do like to celebrate Halloween by giving the children sweets. Now, a Scottish traditional sweet, or those of you who are watching my grammar, I should say a traditional Scottish sweet, putting the traditional first, Scottish second, is something called tablet. And I'm going to show you how to make that today. My grandmother loved it, she made it all the time. Growing up, we always had tablet and toffee in the house. It's a particular favourite for Halloween. It's what we give the children. And that's what I want to show you how to make today. It's actually very, very easy and you'll love it, really. It's so simple. So we're going to make the tablet, and let me just show you first of all the things that you're going to need. Okay, so if we look over here, you'll see first of all the thing that we need is the butter. Butter. Okay, now I've actually already measured it, so I know exactly how much I need, and it's 55 grams. Now, as you all may know, we use different weights and measurements in the UK. We use pounds and ounces. We don't usually use grams or kilograms, but for this video I'm doing it the European way. Okay, so the butter is 55 grams of butter, and then you also need milk. You can see here, milk, and I've already measured that. I have it here. It's actually 250 milliliters of milk. 250 milliliters of milk. And the next thing is sugar, and that's the main ingredient. Now I went out this morning and I bought a kilogram of this stuff, okay, just to make sure that it guarantees you have a heart attack. Be careful if you have diabetes, by the way, be careful of diabetes, okay. So you can see here, this is the sugar. This is 1 kilogram, okay, and I've measured it. And so this actually is the correct thing for the recipe, and that is 900 grams of granulated sugar, not caster sugar, not caster sugar. Caster sugar is finer. This is just the normal sugar that you buy, alright? And the other thing that you need is a lovely thing, this my grandmother loved it, is this, which is condensed milk. Condensed milk is actually a sweetened milk. It's milk with sugar. Alright, you can see it's a very sweet milk. It's in a can. It's kind of like cream but with added sugar. So this, what we're making today, really is a bit of a sugar bomb, we can call it. It's very, very sweet. Not so good for the teeth and certainly not good for your body. So this is the condensed milk, okay, and I have the recipe here. And finally, when this is made in this pot, I'm going to pour it into the baking tray, which I've already got prepared, a small tray there. Okay. Very simple, takes no longer than 20 minutes, and we're going to make it now. Okay, so I want you to stay with me while I make this, alright? So, just let us run through the ingredients again. So, those are 55 grams of butter, 250 milliliters of milk, 900 grams of cane or granulated sugar, and then you have the can of condensed milk, which is 397 grams, and I've got that exactly there, 397 grams, exactly as it says on the recipe, exactly as it says on the recipe. Okay, so now if we look at the recipe, this is very, very easy. Okay, so first of all, in a large non-stick pan, that's this, Okay. We melt the butter with the milk, slowly adding the sugar. Alright? So, let me just begin doing that. Just move this out of the way. So, this is the 55 grams of butter that I have to use, so just put that in there. And I have to melt the butter with the milk. So here we have the milk I prepared. It's not the correct measurement, so I'll just put that in here. Okay, and let's just do a little close-up with the butter and the milk melting together there in the pot. There we are, you can see that there. Okay, so I'm melting the butter with the milk and I'm adding the sugar slowly. Okay, so I'm melting the butter with the milk first and then I'll be adding the sugar. So I'll just give that a moment, the milk and the butter to melt. Okay, and I have my wooden spoon here as well because I have to do some beating. Now just while we're waiting for this butter and milk to melt, I want to tell you a story. As you know, here in Scotland we speak English and Gaelic. Gaelic is fashionable these days. We have schools for it and many people speak it. Our street signs are in Gaelic. But when I was a little boy, and I'm not old, I'm only 47, we actually had a very strange system here. If they heard you speaking Gaelic, you would have been punished by the teacher. And do you know what they used to do if you spoke Gaelic at school? They had one of these, and it had a hole in it through the middle, and you had to wear it through your neck, round your neck I should say. You had to wear it round your neck to show that you had spoken Gaelic, and that was their way of telling everyone that you had broken the rules. So it's hard for me to accept now that everyone can speak Gaelic. Most people here in the south didn't speak it anyway. It's a northern thing. Anyway, our butter here is melting quite satisfactorily, I'd say. It's still ongoing there. You can see the butter in the pot there. It's slowly turning yellow. And a bit of milk there. Let me just re-add that. Okay, and now I have to slowly add the sugar. Alright, so the butter's near enough melted there. So let me just slowly add the sugar. So, this is my first bit of it. It's a lot of sugar, isn't it? Guaranteed heart attack coming your way soon if you eat this, you know. And let me just check the recipe as well. You stir in the sugar slowly and you boil briskly for 4 minutes. Oh, this is looking like my granny's recipe. Now, if you were anything like my grandmother, she used to say that you have to swear at it. Ah, you swine ye! Ah, bad tablet, bad tablet. That's just me swearing at the tablet. You don't have to do that, okay? It's just that little thing that I do, swearing at food, to make sure it knows it has to be cooked properly. So here I am, adding in the sugar, slowly, to this this milk and butter. Okay, just add another bit of it and put it in there. There we are, beginning to turn nicely. So here we are, coming along nicely, and I have to let it boil briskly, whatever that means, for 4 minutes. Okay, so it's looking a little bit, well, a little bit like wallpaper paste, but let's not worry too much about that. I'll just add the last bit of sugar. There we are. It's a lot of sugar, isn't it? I hope I've got these measurements right. My, it really is like something you would use to put wallpaper on the walls. Alright, so let me just stop stirring this for a moment and let it boil briskly for its 4 minutes. Now I'm going to look up at Mickey Mouse here. You can see Mickey Mouse in the wall. He right now says 10 to 3. Okay, so I'm going to let it boil just before 5 to 3. Alright, So it's on full heat. So let's just stir it a little bit, and let's look and see what we do next. I'm making toffee later, by the way. This is why all these ingredients are here. And in case you're wondering whether the children will be coming to see any of this for Halloween, the answer is no. I'll be eating this. Okay, so it's not for the kids, alright? So I'm just waiting for this to boil briskly, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in the condensed milk, making sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pan. And then I have to boil that for 20 minutes, stirring regularly until it becomes a honey caramel colour. Oh dear. Right, so let's get on to that. So we have 4 minutes to let this thing boil. Okay, so I'll just give it another stir there. And when it's ready, I'll be adding in this here, this condensed milk. I don't know if you've ever tried this. It's absolutely delicious. It's possible to buy it with rice. Let me show you. I think I have one here, a rice one. Yeah, I have. It's here. This is a delicious thing, really. I can't fault this. It's beautiful, beautiful. This is a can of rice in this milk. Okay, so you can buy it separately as well. And let me just see what's in this cupboard. Let's see now. Yes. Rice pudding. So this is rice in condensed milk. Rice pudding. Beautiful. It's basically just rice pudding with some of this added. So you can buy that separately as well. So let's get back to our dish. A few more minutes for boiling, and then I'll be adding this. So I'll just give it a minute, give it a stir. It's really thickening up there, isn't it? So I have to let it boil for 4 minutes. Okay, just a minute. Oh, now it's getting a bit carried away there, isn't it? So I just need to be careful with it that it doesn't decide to leave the pan. So I'll take that off the heat just for a moment, and while it's going down, I'm just going to wash my hands. I'm a bit obsessive about that. Right, so here we are. You can see now it's lovely and thick, beautiful and thick. You can see this here. So what I need to do now is add the condensed milk. It's the next thing. I just need to let it boil just for another minute, and before I do anything else with it, but I'm a bit scared of it, to be honest, in case it decides to do something it shouldn't do. Okay, so now I have to slowly add this condensed milk, making sure it doesn't stick to the bottom. Okay, it's getting a bit carried away there, so I'll just take it off and on the heat for the last 2 minutes, because it is boiling. It is boiling. Do you know, my grandmother, when it came to amounts, she always used to say, oh, a cup of this, a half of that, a handful of this other thing. And it always turned out alright for her. And here am I struggling because I'm using the measurements. I hope this goes okay. Anyway, as I was telling you, in Mexico they make all this food and they offer it to their ancestors. We don't do that, but this is a lovely way to remember both my mother and my grandmother, because at Halloween this is what they made to give to the children. And I might even make a little Day of the Dead thing with photos, the way they do in Mexico, a little table just to remember them with their photo, and maybe I'll leave them some tablets. I've often wondered what happened to that food though in Mexico. I mean, you leave all this food at someone's grave or in the altar at home. Nobody eats it. What a waste. What a waste. Well, I'll certainly be eating this. Right, so we've almost got it there. So let's say that's more or less the time up. Okay, so finally, the next thing that we have to do is we need to add in the condensed milk, making sure that it doesn't stick to the bottom. Alright, so I need to be careful of this as well because it is going to boil on me otherwise. Boil over. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, so this is the condensed milk. You can see is going in here. And the instructions on this recipe say be careful that this doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. So I need to make sure that I'm stirring this at every moment, otherwise it will burn on the bottom. Alright, so here we are. Okay. I have to stir it until the mixture is thick and the honey caramel colour. And you have to take care when it's boiling because it becomes very, very hot. Very hot, really. Okay, and then you remove from the heat and you beat it until it sets. Beat it is not with a whip but with this spoon. I'll show you that in a minute. You know the way you beat an egg? If you want to make scrambled eggs, it's the same. It's the same. So let me just... What do I have to do here? Right, so I have to boil it for approximately 20 minutes. Alright. So I don't know at what temperature is going to boil. So I need to make sure that I bring it to the correct temperature, otherwise it'll overflow. Okay, so let's see, what time is it now? 5:02. So when Mickey's hand is at 1/4, we'll take it off the heat. Now you can see there that I'm stirring it. I'm not sure if you do a lot of cooking at home, but you know, one of the biggest differences I think between here and other countries is that here we eat a lot of processed foods, foods in cans, foods in tins. But in the old days, you simply used natural ingredients, and you also used a lot of leftovers. So whatever was left over one day, you used for something else, you know. So you can see here, I'm just stirring this. One of the biggest recipes for things which are left over is a meal which is called toad in the hole. It's very English. English people love that. It's disgusting. But you basically take all of the leftover food and you make it into some kind of pie. It's a little bit strange. Toad in the hole. But you'll see that anyway if you're looking at English recipes. English food is not very exciting, I'm afraid. Not very exciting. So we've been talking about weights and measurements. Let me tell you a little bit about that while we're waiting for Mickey's hand to come over. Pounds and ounces. Now I don't know exactly how they relate to grams and kilograms because here we don't use grams and kilograms. One of the big fights that Britain had with the European Union was to allow us to continue using pounds and ounces as well as miles instead of kilometers. And actually, although that's a good thing, we've saved part of our culture. Maybe it'll all change with Brexit, I don't know. The downside is that I don't actually know anything about grams and kilograms, so I'm a bit uneasy trying to cook with grams and kilograms. My grandmother, it was a handful of this, some of that, but for me actually it's more about getting the measurements right in a way that I can understand them. So we have grams and ounces. The other thing I want to tell you about pounds and ounces, sorry, not grams and ounces, kilograms and grams in Europe, pounds and ounces here. But, well, a lot of things are marked with both now, especially our young people. I think they'd be more familiar with both. Another thing to tell you about, of course, is the time, because a moment ago we started talking a little bit about 5 minutes to 3. I want to get through some issues with time with you first in a moment, but I just want to make sure the heat is alright here because it's not doing anything. Okay, so time, let me tell you. You can see Mickey here at the moment. He's at 3 o'clock. Alright? In a digital clock, oh, this is getting excited, isn't it? In a digital clock, it'll be shown as 3:00. Like for example here, you can see it's showing it's 14:58. Just, but we often say things like it's 2 minutes before 3. It's 3 minutes after 3. But if you have a digital clock, sometimes that's getting excited again, isn't it? Just move that off and put that just a little bit down. Can't go any further down, I think, so I'll just let that relax for a moment before I put it back on the heat. Yeah, we sometimes say 2 minutes past 3, 5 past 3, 10 minutes past 3, and then it changes to quarter past 3. We don't usually say 15 minutes past 3, it's quarter past, 20 past, 25 past, and half past. And then we work towards the hour, which is 5 minutes to 3, 20 minutes to 3, or in this case 4, quarter to 4, 10 to 4, 5 to 4, and then 4 o'clock. So it's a very good system. But the other system, which is digital, you can see there 1459, 1500. This is the same as it is on the computers, you know. It shows 14, 15, 16, and we have to treat that just a little bit differently, because we can't say 16 o'clock, we have to say 1600 hours, or 1600 hours GMT. Now, just while I'm talking about time, I just want to tell you as well that our clocks are going, is it forward or back? I always forget, and I have a proverb to remember. Spring forward, fall back. Fall is the American word for autumn. So the clocks are going back tonight by 1 hour. The last Saturday in October, the clocks always go back by 1 hour. Okay, so that's another thing. That's soon to change. The European Union have passed laws to allow each country to decide if it wants to change its clocks. Here, the clocks change at the moment, but soon they won't be. And this is a big problem for Scotland, because we're in the north and we have much less sunlight than anywhere else does. Let me just put this up a little bit again, because it's clearly not boiling. I hope this turns out okay. But anyway, you may have heard in the news that already Morocco, not in the EU, has decided in the last few days that it's not going to continue changing its clocks. I'm not sure what the reason for that is. Russia doesn't at the moment anyway. So it's all change by not changing in this case, isn't it? So I just have to wait and see where that's going. So just a quick recap then, what we've been talking about today. We're making tablets. We've done some discussions about measurements, pounds and ounces in the UK compared to grams and kilograms. See, this thing is rising again. Be very careful with it in case it's... I'm still waiting for it to turn into this honey brown colour. Hopefully it will. See if I can turn that down a little bit more. The thing with it is it's very, very hot. So you can't do much with it except watch it and ensure it doesn't... Yeah, that's fine. I'll just leave that for a moment. I'm just keeping the heat down. You can see it's down at minimal there, absolutely minimal, and it's still boiling there, and it's beginning to thicken as well, which is what we wanted to do. And in a moment, I'm still hoping for this golden brown colour. Doesn't look like it, does it? But then we do have another 15 minutes to go. 15 minutes to go. So I started off there just by reminding you what we've been talking about today. Pounds and ounces in the UK is grams and kilograms in Europe, and we also went through the measurements of this recipe. Okay, and you can rewind if you want to see those again, and you can translate them into your own recipe as well, into your own language. This is called tablets, nothing to do with an iPad or an IT tablet. It's the name of a very old recipe, which is simple milk, sugar and condensed milk. There's nothing else in it there. Later on today for the children, I'll also be making toffee, which is another one of my favourites, and another way that I remember my mother and grandmother. And for that I have a special kind of sugar. I also have something which is very handy, and I don't know how this translates into other languages, is golden syrup, which is another type of sugar. And then there's also some vanilla extract and another type of sugar there. You see our sugar brands are called Silver Spoon. Silver Spoon. Interesting. Right, so getting back to my recipe here of the tablet, I'm just stirring it to make sure it's going okay while you're looking at the golden syrup there and some of the other things like the double cream. Okay. Now the recipe actually said to get grease-proof paper, which is a type of paper that you would usually put in these trays, but actually I didn't have any, so I'm using tin foil instead. Tin foil, and that's where this is going to go. Hopefully there'll be enough room for all of it. I still don't see this golden brown colour, but I'm sure it's going to come eventually. Okay, I don't want to put the heat up anymore, because if I do, there's a danger that I might burn it. Alright, so laterally there, the other thing that I was talking to you about was time, and I was telling you that we have this proverb which is fall back, to remind myself that in autumn the clocks go back. Spring, forward, fall, back. Okay, which is just to remind people that in the fall, a word we never use here, in the autumn the clocks go back. Okay, and that's what's happening tonight. But you know, in these days all of our devices, they do it all themselves. You would never know if the clocks went back or not, but you would know here in Scotland, because it would be very, very dark until 11 AM if we didn't adjust the clocks, which is a safety issue for our children. So it really has to happen here. So I wanted to finish my earlier conversation by telling you that if the clocks don't go back in Scotland, it causes a security issue. So I would imagine they will use it to say that Scotland's different. Another reason to give us independence. Just one moment. Let's see how this is doing. So come with me and have a look in the pot here. You can see it's boiling nicely, and we just need to wait for that golden brown colour, which should be coming in another few minutes, I hope. I'm going to put the heat up just by a little inch there, just to see if I can get it boiling properly, because I don't want it to go wrong. So just give it another minute there. Let's just talk about a few things in the kitchen. Okay, a few little things. So we have, for example, the measuring jug. We have the bowl. We have the tin. Another tin of condensed milk. The cooker. The microwave. And in total, the ingredients for all the things that we have here. Now, you can see here, this is thickening up nicely with only 5 minutes to go. So just in another few minutes, this should be finished. Alright, So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop it and I'll restart the video again just as I'm putting this into the tray. Alright, so we'll say goodbye for now and I'll be back in my next video clip just in 2 minutes when this goes into the tray because I have to go to the toilet. See you in a minute.